Steve Bannon was curiously silent about the quotes that were attributed to him in Fire and Fury in the days after they were initially released, even before the book came out. And 5 days later, though, he did speak out. And he did so, I believe, because he was being eviscerated by the president and his surrogates. And so when he spoke out, he wanted Trump to know that he was really ridiculously sorry for the things attributed to him. Especially after this tweet from the president saying, Michael Wolff is a total loser who made up stories in order to sell this really boring and untruthful book. Again, he's saying it's boring because he's read it. He used sloppy Steve Bannon, who cried when he got fired and begged for his job. Now sloppy Steve has been dumped like a dog by almost everyone. Too bad. He says too bad, but he's the one who fired him. Is it too bad? And also, why the dog hate? He always says like a dog.
Right.
Yeah. He doesn't like dogs.
Is he dumping dogs?
I don't know. But anyway, Bannon did put out a statement, and here are some sections of it. I regret that my delay in responding to the inaccurate reporting regarding Don Jr. has diverted attention from the president's historical accomplishments in the first year of his presidency. So he said there, it's inaccurate reporting regarding Don Jr. So hold that in your mind as you read this. Donald Trump Jr. is both a patriot and a good man. He has been relentless in his advocacy for his father and the agenda that has helped turn our country around. So that's fine. Remember, inaccurate reporting. He goes on to say this, my comments were aimed at Paul Manafort, a seasoned campaign professional with experience and knowledge of how the Russians operate. He should have known they are duplicitous, cunning, and not our friends. To reiterate, those comments were not aimed at Don Jr. So were they comments that were aimed at someone else, or were they inaccurately reported? Because it sounds like he said that about the meeting, which if you've read the book, you know, was Don Jr.'s idea. So it's difficult to take a group of the highest up officials in the Trump campaign who go to this meeting and say one of them is treasonous and bad, but the guy who set it up, not treasonous, because he's apparently, in the words of, in the implied words of Steve Bannon, so naive or so stupid, so to not know that Russian agents might attempt to pull one over on him. Is that what we're supposed to take from this?
Yeah, I have so many thoughts. First of all, I don't believe anything that Bannon is saying, especially now, considering his entire career is on the line. There's a significant likelihood that he won't even be employed by Breitbart anymore because Rebecca Mercer is pulling funding, well, not pulling funding from Breitbart, but made it very clear that she is not supportive of Steve Bannon. But I want to just very quickly go back to Trump's tweet and again, his tweet, in my opinion, just reinforces the main thesis of that book, right? Like he tells himself all these little lies to feel good about himself. The fact that he thinks the book is boring. If the book is boring, then it wouldn't have dominated the news cycle for what, how many days now? It's all anyone's really talking about. And so no, it's not a boring book. I know that makes you feel better about yourself, but that's not the case. And secondly, look, Bannon is so pathetic. It's so I didn't expect this, to be honest, because he presents himself as this like strong-willed, stubborn guy who won't kowtow to anyone. And to see him tuck tail and kiss up to Trump's son like this, calling him a real American patriot, it's funny and it's pathetic and it's embarrassing for Bannon, and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Right, it reminds me of Goodfellas. It reminds me of the mafia, and their names are Don. So it's like on top of that, it's even better. But you have the guy who crossed the Don, the Godfather, and now he comes back. Hey, sorry, I didn't mean to say what I was saying. No, great man. This guy's a great man. It's the same feeling I get with Bannon going back to Trump. Of course, not crying any tears, although there are some bad parts of this in terms of American policy that I think can be affected by Bannon being out of the White House too.
And also the idea that he was crying for his job, I don't believe that he was crying for his job. His eyes are puffy, dude. He's not actually crying. That's how he looks. But also, it does seem a little bit odd. I understand Steve Bannon was very highly placed in all that. He was an advisor to the president, but he's being taken down for the things that he allegedly said, but that book is full of every person around Donald Trump, calling him an idiot and a moron, and not just that, but attacking each other, attacking his son-in-law, attacking his daughter, all of that. It's odd that Bannon apparently is the only one who has a political price to pay for it, which implies to me that it's not primarily about the book, that this is just the latest reminder of the feud between Trump and Bannon.
Well, remember, and I want to quickly mention this because it was evident in Stephen Miller's interview with Jake Tapper, there was a lot of emphasis about, Trump accomplished all these things without Bannon, Bannon, he wanted to take all the credit. remember, Trump is a very egotistical person, and early on in his presidency, Bannon would get a lot of credit for being the mastermind behind Trump's policies.
Calling him his brain.
Exactly, and look, Trump did not like that. He does not like someone else taking the credit. And remember, Bannon was the one that was accused of constantly leaking to the press, which he very well might have done, but we know that this White House has had an issue with leakers in general, including right now with Bannon gone.
Yeah, and I mean, look, from early on, there were a lot of leaks coming out. If you believe what's in the book, it was all of them, and primarily the information about the meeting in Trump Tower. It looks like Bannon probably was one of the ones doing a lot of the leaking there, and so you might wonder, so why is this important? Is this just? I mean, he's not even at the White House anymore. Does this really matter? Is this just fallout from the book? But I think that it does matter, because while I would love for Steve Bannon to be someone that you never needed to know the name of, at least in the last couple of years, he has come to represent a very loud, very dark section of America. His position, not just with the president, but with that section of America, is very important for our politics going forward. And if the big backers of his site go with Trump instead of him, if the alt-right decides that they prefer Trump to Bannon, who used to be one of their intellectual leaders, that is extremely significant. So this is not for nothing that this is going on, whether Trump accepts him back into the fold again. So Willie, it doesn't look like it. From insiders, it did nothing, this apology, to quell Trump's rage at his former chief strategist or the anger of Bannon's former West Wing colleagues, who said the vibe in the president's circle was that people were unmoved by the statement. By the way, that was just a small section. It got really obsequious. Asked whether there's anything Bannon can do at this point to get back in the president's good graces, one White House official said curtly, unlikely. Which certainly doesn't mean impossible. Trump is a person who, his view of you is entirely dependent on like his last interaction with you. If you say something nice about him, generally he will like you. And the inverse is true as well. It might not have worked right now, but this isn't the last interaction they'll have. And so perhaps at some point they could make amends.
If you like this video, bless your heart. We got a lot more where that came from. We do a full show every day, Monday through Friday. Come enjoy it ad-free by becoming a member, tytnetwork.com/join.